you kind of have an expectation of how you should be running your business, and you're acutely aware of the areas where you're not performing to the extent that you probably should be performing. And so like in this, obviously taking full responsibility for the success or failure of my business and whether leads are coming in or not, knowing that this like big piece of my business was kind of missing, that for me, I guess is like a shame point.
You're listening to Breakthrough with Coach B, where we help you work less so you can earn and live more. Our mission is to free you from the unnecessary, the repetitive, and the draining, so you can focus on what you love, excel at, and grow your business. Let's dive in. Hey, it's me, Coach B. Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Breakthrough. Today, we are doing one of my favorite things, and that is to talk to someone who's got a beginner's mind. Now, don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Our guest today, Michelle Hawco from Ontario, is not a beginner to real estate. In fact, she's been licensed for nearly 2 decades, but she is a beginner when it comes to the idea of hiring help, specifically a virtual assistant in her business. Michelle is a RRI coaching member, and I saw late last year that she posted on the Facebook group asking anyone about their experiences with a VA and what she had learned recently by hiring one of her own. She then went on, after having success in that first conversation, to organize a meetup of other realtors who are thinking about hiring an assistant and sharing tips and tricks. So I thought she would be the perfect person if you are the type of audience member that is, new to this idea of letting go to grow. Maybe you have some apprehensions around trusting someone to run a component of your business, whether it's your marketing or your administration. And Michelle does such a great job describing what it was like for her in the very beginning. And she still is, frankly, in the relatively early stages of this journey. But I love that for our audience because I know many of us are in that phase as well, where we're just getting started. So we thought it'd be really cool to hear someone who's got sort of that beginner's mind, that fresh outlook on what it's like to let go of the stuff that is the soul-sucking, energy draining, low impact tasks, and then do something else with that time that we get once we're freed up of it. So hope you enjoy this interview with Michelle Hawco, and I'll see you inside. Imagine freeing up 10 hours a week to focus on what you love, personally and professionally. Ready to get started? Our free guide walks you through the first step, a resource review to identify where you spend your time, money, and energy. Download it now at bradenwheatcroft.com/review or find the link in our show notes. Let's get you closer to your breakthrough. My request to reach out to you sort of out of the blue, do you know what the spark was for me to reach out to you?
Well, you had mentioned because I had been posting on RRI about hiring a VA and what that experience was like. And then once I started offering some different sessions to RRI coaching members around that topic. Yeah. So I think that was why. Was that why?
Exactly. And I, if you indulge me here, I want to read your first post on January 11th because I have some questions for you. So this is on the RRI members community page, and it says, "Hi, everyone. In Q4 of 2024, I made the leap and hired a virtual assistant through outsourced doers. And honestly, it's been a total game changer for both my business and my sanity. My VA has taken so much off my plate, from posting daily on my social media channels to creating 3 fully functional sales funnels. She's also set up tools like Calendly and AdEvent and built automations through Zapier that are saving me hours a week." Now, you go on to continue to invite our community to an event that was hosted by the company that you worked with. And then later, February 13th, so about a month later, you posted on the same page, "After an incredible response from our virtual assistant session, I've decided to host another one. I still have agents reaching out asking me." So we're diving into the nitty gritty of working with a VA in your real estate business. And so when I saw both of these posts, I was like, I need to talk to Michelle because I feel like you are like the spokesperson for the I'm new to getting a VA.
Yes.
And I'm learning as we go. And like some of the people that we've interviewed so far on this podcast have been people that have like maybe had the VA or an in real life assistant for 10 years. And they're like definitely advocating for the benefits of hiring. But I thought the perspective of someone who's, very early into the process, where maybe you don't know all the answers, because how could you? Because you're new to it. I just think that would be so valuable for our audience. But I do, before we dig into that, I want to throw back. You won an award in your previous career for operational excellence.
Yes.
And I'm curious to know the answer to this question. Up until recently, that post where you made in January said you, in final Q4 of 2024, you've hired a VA. You've been licensed for 19 years. Up to that point, had you ever hired a virtual assistant or
Oh,
an assistant or anything?
no. And you know what? Having listened to your first podcast in this series, okay. So when I was in the gas business,
This is not a gotcha moment. Just so
no,
you know.
it is though. Like it's a mindset thing. It's a
Yeah.
mindset thing. So
Okay.
it's going to very much you talk about breakthroughs, and it's like my mindset getting out of the gas business where I managed people very successfully. Like leadership is not an unknown thing to me. Like it's something that I am good at and I thrived at when I was in the gas business. And even when I was a teenager, I was managing other people. Like I was managing facilities like from the time I was 16. But it was just when I got out of that business and then just having so much stress and anxiety around it and it being such a grind, when I got into real estate, I had this mindset of I just want to be responsible for me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when I came into the business in 2008 or 2006, I think Facebook didn't even come out to the public until like 2008. So if you go back in a time machine to that time, really, if you're just getting started in real estate and you're a pretty organized person, you don't really need an assistant until you're getting quite successful, right? So it depends. Like I was always paying photographers to do photography. I had a sign installer. So I would like delegate those obvious things. But to me, it was like, there's not really that much that needs to be done here, in my opinion. And maybe I did it wrong and I would have, been like wildly successful from day one if I had done it differently. I just didn't see the need. And I was also kind of in a mindset of spend less. You need to make more money to spend more money. And I was kind of in this like, okay, I'm going into real estate because I want to have freedom, which is like a number one thing in my life that's important to me. And so to come here to work 17 hours a day to make a whole bunch of money, to spend a whole bunch of money didn't really make sense to me. Like that wasn't why I was here. That's not what I'm doing. So it took me all those years simply because I kind of had that mindset, which was maybe backwards. My husband started a business in 2010. So we were always kind of funneling money that way as well. And he was working. So he was working like 12 hours a day for a good 6-7 years, which was too much. Now he is also self-employed. So we have a much better quality of life now. I didn't want to send my kids to daycare. So it was always kind of like, just don't spend more money.
Yeah.
Just work as much as you have to, right? So I don't really have a lot of regrets around that. And the thing that kind of changed, getting involved with the RRI community more formally in 2021, doing some coaching, was really the idea of doing more marketing to keep like the sales funnel, like the funnel full, right? Because that is something that I do have to say over the years. I've had a lot of success with past clients and referrals because I'm just kind of like naturally good at having those relationships and people have had good experiences when they've worked with me.
And you've got cute kids.
And I have cute kids. Yeah. Of course. So that was like, that part wasn't hard, but it's not consistent when that's your business plan, right? So really, finally, what broke through, and I don't remember which impact session it was, but it was the idea of like, I need to be doing marketing. So while I was doing a lot of things very well, the thing that would fall off, and like I'm completely unapologetic about it, was my marketing. Like if I didn't post to social media, I'm like, meh, like I didn't care.
Why do you say unapologetic about it? Like what would make someone need to apologize? Like who would you be apologizing to for that? I'm curious what you mean by that.
That's kind of interesting. I guess what I mean is you kind of have an expectation of how you should be running your business, and you're acutely aware of the areas where you're not performing to the extent that you probably should be performing, right? And so like in this, obviously taking full responsibility for the success or failure of my business and whether leads are coming in or not, knowing that this like big piece of my business was kind of missing, that for me, I guess is like a shame point, right? Like I'm here, but I could be here if I was doing this one thing, but I don't really have time to do it. So I'm just going to skip it. And I just really focused on past clients and referrals and working my LRS, right?
So it's an interesting observation because I don't know that I've worked with anybody who came from the sector that you worked in, but what you're describing to me reminds me a lot of like when we have people who get into real estate sales and they come from the automotive industry. I often find that there's way more systems and way more structure. Like the training programs often for car salespeople, I think are honestly way further along in some respects than what people get from real estate brokerages and whatnot. Not always, obviously. And obviously there's communities like RRI that are there. But I'm always amazed when we hire someone who was previously a car salesperson of like, oh yeah, they've got a certain like sales pedigree already built in. So there's a lot of structure and they're taught how to use a CRM and how to do follow-ups and all of that stuff. And it sounds to me like in your previous endeavors, like there was a lot of systems and a lot of structure. And then when you got out of it, it was almost like a natural, like, oh, I need the total opposite of that for a while. Like, I don't even know if you would describe that as burnout or something, but you just like, you were craving the opposite of what you had for a long time.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that is fair to say. And I structure in a different way. So like with the gas business, you would do bookkeeping every single day.
Right.
Where it's you become self-employed and now I didn't really need to worry about that
I
much.
haven't even filed my taxes in 6 years.
Ah,
So, it's all good.
it.
Yeah.
I will say though, I have now like I have a full-time bookkeeper, I have an accountant. You know what I mean? Like so a lot of things over the last several years I have started doing a better job of and delegating.
And so I'm all for the sabbatical or this taking that space and really like taking a moment to pause. I'm curious knowing what you know now, because it sounds like you've done an amazing job. You've built a business that serves you. I mean, that's ultimately what this is all about, right? I applaud you for that. Um, but knowing what you know now, looking at that timeline, do you think 2 years of kind of being footloose and fancy free would have been adequate? Would have like when would you go back to yourself, knowing your own life story, and have said, "Hey, Michelle, I know you're loving this, not doing bookkeeping every day at the gas station, and I know you're loving this not running, organizing other people like you used to since you were a teenager." But maybe now's a time. Like, where in the last 19-year timeline would you want to have had that conversation with yourself?
Probably around 2012 or 2013.
So that would have been, so we're splitting because you got licensed in 2006.
Yes.
So about 6 to 7 years in of being
Yeah.
in real estate, of being a rebel real estate agent.
I wouldn't say a rebel real estate
Okay,
agent.
all right, fine. I'm just trying to have fun here,
Yeah, yeah,
Michelle.
yeah. No.
But yeah, 6 years in. Why?
Well, I think because and you talked to it in your first episode, like for the first 5 years, you're just kind of learning how to do your job, right? But around that point, if I wasn't outsourcing the care of my children in any way, having somebody to step in and help me on the other side would have been really, really smart. But I think at that time, I don't know if really having a VA would have been a thing. To be honest with you, I don't really know if it was. And at that time, we had different financial pressures as a family because my husband had decided to start his own business and was trying to fund that while also working full time. So it's kind of like, yeah, hindsight's 2020, and it would have been great if I had had the money to do it. But you know what? I don't think at that time I had the financial, and I don't want to say stability because we were paying our bills, but it was tight. Like money was tight then. And then it was that kind of bottleneck, like you're talking about. You're kind of stuck because you can't really grow. You don't have the bandwidth to do it, and you don't have the systems necessarily or the help to do it. So you're kind of stuck in a holding pattern, right?
Again, we're new friends. But I love your conviction and sort of your self-assurance about like you've done the right things. It's a great energy. It's like you said, like not unapologetic, and I love that about you. I am curious though if I could push back a little bit, and it's not about trying to be right. It's more I'm just interested in where this dialogue may go. But you mentioned it's like this either or of like, well, I could have got childcare or I could have got an assistant. It didn't have to be a VA because I'm not pushing only a VA agenda. It could have been a part-time person. It could have been another mom in your mom group, right? That wanted 3 hours a day of work.
Well, and I did have somebody to help a little bit with the kids in that way. Yes.
Okay, but someone could have helped also with your business. And I'm curious, like you're talking about money being tight, and I know you're not going to just agree with me to agree with me. I love that. Could you hold the possibility that money's tight, but we would actually make more money if I had help then, and it's not an either or. I could have had a yes and. Like, could you have seen that, or is it just that was just simply not in the cards at that point for you?
Actually, around that time, interestingly, I had actually had a girlfriend of mine help with the kids for like 12 hours a week. So she'd come into the house. I felt good about that. She had a little one too. So it was good for her. She was on mat leave. So she was making a little bit of money. And that was something affordable. So that was good for me to have a little more time to actually focus on the business. And at that time, I guess my oldest daughter had just started school. My kids were in public school at that time. We started homeschooling in 2018. So we have 4 homeschooled kids now. But what I would say to that is I did kind of hire bits and pieces because I had people in my community helping me write blogs. There were some moms. So I wanted to kind of feed my blog. I was big on community events and promoting things happening in the community. So I did do that. I couldn't have imagined at that time actually hiring an administrative assistant or anything like that because I guess I figured I didn't really need it at that time because I wasn't busy enough. I think the bigger problem was because I was relying on just personal networking and past clients and referrals to feed the business, and I didn't have like a marketing machine running, like some kind of farming I was doing or something that was newspaper ads every week, although I did that a little bit. I, I didn't have that consistent source of leads. So I think I just felt stuck. Like I think I would have loved help, but didn't know how to do it. Like I think I had a cleaning lady, which was helpful until you realize when you have a lot of kids and you have pets, it's like, it's great, but the house is clean for 4 minutes and I
Yeah.
could have been going into my RRSP. You know what I mean? Like not to put, I think cleaning women, like cleaning services are amazing
Oh
and
yeah.
helpful. Just it needs to fit your life, right? You just need to have good habits when you have a lot of kids and pets. But anyway, yeah, so that's kind of the thing. Like I think, but I think I could see it at that point.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you describe this stuck. It's like the chicken or the egg dilemma. And I hear this in coaching conversations all the time. It's like when I'm busier, it's like it's actually, let's go back in the timeline. It's like I acknowledge that my business would likely be better, my life would be better if I had some help, even administrative, because it's not like just because I can do admin work and it only takes me 20 minutes every other day, like it still doesn't light me up and I don't love doing it. So yes, okay, I get it, coach. I should have one, but I don't have enough leads coming yet to justify hiring that person. And it's like that is such a common juxtaposition to be in, or that chicken or the egg dilemma, because I might argue, well, part of the first thing you do when you reclaim that 2 hours a week is you spend 2 hours reading a book on marketing, taking a course on like learning how to fill the funnel. And I see a lot of people get some kind of trapped, never having the bandwidth to learn how to solve the problem that is preventing them from moving forward, right? And I always say like YouTube University. I'm pretty sure, and I am not a handy person. Like I don't know if you can see how soft my hands are, but they are like silky soft. They have not seen a day of hard manual labor. And if you said, come to my community and change the oil in my vehicle, I have no idea how to do that, but I'm pretty sure I could show up on Monday and kind of do it by sitting on YouTube all weekend and learning and reading about the model of your vehicle and calling a friend of mine who's a mechanic to walk me through a few of the shortcuts. And I could, in 48 hours, have figured out how to change the oil in your vehicle. Not well, and I'm not going to guarantee the labor, but I could kind of understand how to do it. But most people don't have the 48 hours of breathing room to figure out how to do that. And that's where it's like, I find that it is a very much a chicken egg dilemma.
Oh, it 100% is. And I don't think at that time I really had the mindset of if I do this, it's going to free up my space to do the thing I'm really good at. Do you know what I mean? Like it just wasn't a mindset piece I had. Now, I don't know, like I think I would take in RRI events probably around that time because I know Rich spoke at a couple of Remax events.
Yeah.
Then I did start going to his fall event quite often at that point, and I loved that mindset shift because, it is that. Do you know what I mean? Like thinking, okay, this frees me up to do the things that I'm really passionate about. So what I have noticed the most with hiring somebody, and I had mentioned it in my posts, was like, I feel inspired again because it was almost like before having an idea of something I wanted to do that I didn't have time to do because like my values are going to be my values. This is just who I am. Like I'm going to do a great job for my clients. I'm going to be around for my kids. And if I have time left over, I'm going to do these other things. Right. So like, and self-care probably is above doing social media posts for my business.
100%. Agreed.
My business. Right.
Yeah.
So, and that's fine. But now I'm like, oh my God. Okay. So like, I also run a group called Empowering Real Estate Mom Circle, which some of the RI members are a part of.
Wow. Am I allowed to invite my colleagues at my brokerage to that? Is that a thing, or how's that?
You can absolutely do that. So it's for real estate moms, so moms who are realtors or women working in businesses that are kind of like surrounding real estate. So like lawyers, stagers, photographers, things like that. So mortgage brokers. I just love it. Like, so things I'm passionate about is actually supporting people. Like, how do women live authentically? Because I feel like when you're in alignment with your own values and you're in your integrity, you're happy, right? So like some of this other stuff you'll figure out over time, but you need to kind of start with you, and you need to kind of get out of the mindset that you have to do things the way like everybody else in society is doing it. Like you have a right to imagine your life however you want to imagine it and take steps to live it in the way you want to. So what I found exciting, sorry, getting back to the VA piece, is like I felt inspired again. So like I have the Empowering Real Estate Mom Circle going. Within my community, I was already meeting up with a bunch of moms for something we call Conscious Women Entrepreneur, which is just, again, like-minded women sitting in a circle and like sharing with each other like business challenges, because those challenges are different for a mom who's like a homeschooling mom with her kids than it is for maybe a man who doesn't have any children, right? Like, so we all have like, we all have different things in our lives. And I think when we sit with people who are like-minded, we can solve a lot of problems if we're sharing honestly. But anyway, so since having the VA, I'm now going to be able to kind of like do a couple more passion projects that I'm excited about and still have all of these other elements of my business running. So since we've been working together, she set up, like even registration funnels for some of these projects I work on, which is presenting them in the professional way that I would always want them to be presented in, but didn't have time to accomplish, right? She's posting for me on social media every single day. And actually, since coming into the business, she's like, do we have any professional photos? And I'm like, I have like a headshot. And honestly, when I started the business in 2006, if you had a headshot that was not a glamour shot from the 90s, you were like ahead of the curve. So like when I started, I had a couple of good headshots. I had those redone a few years ago. But she's like, yeah, but Michelle, we need some like waist up photos, this and that. So since getting a VA, I have done a full branding photo shoot, which was like way over the top and way out of my comfort zone. But now we have great marketing collateral. And at the same time, I worked with the same woman to actually do a whole brand refresh to help me with a bunch of my messaging and get super clear on my brand and what we have to offer. So it's been like, it's kind of like this one piece has opened up all this other stuff because now I have the bandwidth to deal with it, right? Okay. And if I deal with it, I have someone to actually implement it. Because even if you go for like a branding photo shoot, and I don't know how you are, but even looking at pictures of yourself, you're like, oh.
Oh, yeah.
Even think of
I don't have that problem. Honestly, it's my favorite thing. I listen to my own podcast nonstop. Yeah, can't just love it so much. No, it's so cringy, but
it's so cringy. But when you hand that album over to somebody who you trust now, who's doing great work for you, and you're like, go market my business.
Yeah, totally. You've made it this far, which means you're ready for your next breakthrough. If you're tired of trying to figure it out all on your own, let me guide you. Join the waitlist for our next Breakthrough Academy, a 6-week virtual group coaching program where I'll teach you our proven breakthrough method. With live lessons, expert guests, and a cohort of like-minded agents, you'll learn to work less and earn and live more. Visit bradenwheatcroft.com/academy or find the link in our show notes. Don't wait. Your breakthrough is just around the corner. Like, you want to come back to everything that this company has helped you with and whatnot. But the piece that I'm just like so fascinated to hear about, I mean, all of it really, but the thing that I really want to try to shine a light on is you're clearly a community leader in so many senses because you volunteered to organize some meetups in the RRI community, which is amazing. Thank you for doing that.
Oh,
and at the same time, so you're facilitating these conversations, you're bringing people together. And I know that based on the second post, it's like obviously the first meeting went well because there was questions, so you ran a second one. So I want to know if you are the unofficial ambassador of the do everything yourself agent, that's shifting from do less everything yourself, and you're now hearing people because you're like, maybe I don't know what if there's 100 steps between step one is you do everything yourself and step 100 is, I don't know, you've got 17 administrators and 3 people dress you every day. Like I don't know what that world looks like, but
So,
you were like step 4 or 5, right? Because you were hiring a photographer and you had someone doing your signs and stuff. So you weren't, at 1, but you are probably now, let's just say step 10, right? Like you have a VA doing stuff, maybe step 12, maybe step 13, but you're interacting and having conversations with people that are like maybe like step 4 or 5, or they're at step 1. They literally are putting in their own for sale signs and taking their own photos. So I want to know, what are you hearing? What are people saying? What are the yeah buts, or oh well that sounds good for you, Michelle, but I da 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 da. Like what on the grass level, like the person who hasn't got that help yet, who hasn't let go, what
yeah.
are they saying?
First of all, and what's fascinating about this is I forget which call we were on. It was an impact call. And I had put in a comment and it was like fleeting. It was something about hiring a VA and being so happy. And it was like everything spiraled from there because I started getting messages.
Moths to a flame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like I put this comment up and then a bunch of agents started reaching out to me. This was before I even proposed doing a session with outsourced doers for ROI. So it was like this crazy feedback. So people are interested. Um, they are tired. There's so much now. Like, I mean, looking from 2006 to the way business is happening in 2024 is like, holy cow. Like, if you're not on every social media, if you're not, knocking it out of the park with personal branding, it's like, it's a very competitive thing now. So I think what people are worried about is, okay, well, like, who do I hire? Like, where do I even go to hire somebody like this? How am I going to find the time to train them? Like, I'm already drowning. You know what I mean? So, like, you're treading water and now you're going to like put a brick on your head, which is trying to train a person to come in and help you in your business, which is kind of how I imagined it before. Um, and and I think they just like, they don't know the systems. They maybe are very experienced agents who do want to be like more tech savvy, who do want to be on social media more. But that's not like their zone of genius or whatever, whatever the case might be. Like they don't know all of those things. So then
I hate
how
social
do I
media.
hire that? I don't even know how to do it.
Yeah,
Right?
I don't enjoy the process of creating content and posting content on social media,
Yeah.
but I understand how important it is. And so yeah, that was like it's probably the third hire that I made, was hiring to have someone just post on social media for me. And I love making the content and I love making the connection and the impact for people. I love serving. But like you said, like if I have to post, and I even noticed this, and this is just my own little, mental health dilemma. But if I post a reel, I am like very invested in how it performs. Like I'll want to know, has anyone seen this yet? Right. Whereas when Katie and my team at Brand Ambition post for me, I'll be like, oh, I said something today. And like we do have a content calendar and like we kind of know what's coming up, but I am not emotionally invested in the performance
Yes.
of it at
Yes.
all. And it
Yes.
is the weirdest thing. I wish that wasn't true. I feel like a weirdo for admitting it out loud, but it's true. So when I post a thing, I want it to do well. When they post on my behalf, I don't really care that much.
You're an observer of it. You're
Yeah.
not emotionally invested in it. And I
Yeah.
love that. But like, I think that's the thing. Like, people are just scared because number one, they're like, oh, I don't really want to spend more money in my business, but know that I need help. I don't necessarily know exactly what I need help with or what I should hand over first. I don't know where to hire somebody. Like, how do I know who to trust? How do I know they're going to be doing what they're supposed to be doing and not just taking my money and wasting time? Like, how do I really bring them into the business? Because a lot of people don't have a lot of good messaging around their business already, necessarily don't know how to share what they do. Like, it's a lot to transfer, and to transfer to somebody in person feels one way, and then to have another layer of it being someone who's far away, it's even more difficult. So that's kind of the stuff I've been talking to agents about. I've been giving a lot of advice to agents about like really leaning into AI because for me, I think that was a game changer because I think I already had a brand prompt sort of running before I hired somebody. So it was like, I see how I could bring somebody in and have them really be effective as me without being me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's been incredible. So like those seem to be the concerns.
Yeah.
And do I need somebody for 40 hours a week? I think I only need somebody for 10 hours a week. This is what people are thinking, right?
Yeah, and I'd also say if like most agents in my experience that are say 5 years in the business are selling probably north of 12 homes, like 18 homes is probably the minimum, like 1.5 a month type frequency. They probably have 30 to 40 hours worth of tasks, but I'm a big believer in chopping that up and giving it to the experts in each task. Like we refer to it as fractional employment. Like, I am not even good at taking photos, editing videos, writing copy, doing admin, doing bookkeeping. Like, so how could I ever expect my full-time in-person administrator to be great at all those things? Like I see that a
Right.
lot in postings. It's like, I want you to be a rock star, administrator that dots every I and crosses every T, but I also want you to be super creative and be really good at Canva and create like graphic design stuff. And you're like, I don't know many people that are that good at everything. So I would say, hey, I've got 5 hours a week of social. I've got 3 hours a week of bookkeeping. I've got 20 hours a week of admin. Like, I can have multiple people on my team that are all specialists and passionate about each of those things. I've found a lot more success with that
Yeah,
personally.
no, that makes a lot of sense to me too. And to be honest, with my VA so far, I have brought her into working kind of like online leads a little bit, just because I'm like, okay, well, you can do this. I'm not that worried about it. Um, Not that she isn't capable. Like, I think she's capable and she's lovely. When I decided to hire somebody, my mentality was this. It was like, okay, it was coming off of last year, which the fall wasn't as great as I had expected, quite honestly. I had a good year, but heading into the fall, some of the files didn't work out the way I had hoped they would. There were different factors in people's lives going on that made them change their plans. But I had time on my hands. So I was kind of like, after one of the impact calls, and I wish I could remember which one it was, I'm like, you know what? I need to like hire somebody. So I started looking into hiring a VA. And then I found outsourced doers because their marketing is brilliant. Like they've done a fantastic job of marketing to women, at least. I don't know
Yeah,
how that would be.
I know. I've actually saved a number of their sponsored posts on Instagram because I'm like, oh, I am gonna chat with these guys at some point.
Yeah, no, like absolutely brilliant. And then I just kind of made the personal decision of, okay, this year, leading into next year, I'm investing in my business and we're just going to do it. So I had talked to my husband as well because, like, we share money and he's got a business running and we're investing in his business. There's like a lot going on, but we're just like, yep, let's just do it. So the idea for me when I hired somebody was I'm going to get her to really work on marketing so that I can get more leads coming in. So I'm like, the thing I can do that's going to generate more income, more leads, those are the things I'm putting my VA on first. And then if I can bring her into helping manage files at some point, I will. But I wasn't really looking for an administrator. I was looking for somebody who could build sales funnels, like make Canva graphics on social.
You're actually, I love selfishly, the reason why I do this is not for the audience. It's so I can learn, and I'm learning from it now. I hope they are too. But you're actually chipping away. My opinion on this is starting to shift based on this exact conversation because I don't know what it is. It's just the way that we've been talking about it. I've been pretty firm on this idea that you need to hire your administrative assistant first, because what ends up happening is as salespeople, marketing people, we get excited about leads. And so we will usually get attracted to outsourcing the marketing and lead gen first because that's exciting, deals and dollars. And when it works, we end up getting slammed as as our own administrator because now we have all these extra clients. And so my counsel to people is often get the admin in place first, build the infrastructure so that you can then when the leads are there, you don't end up being a overwhelmed administrator for yourself. The problem with that though, that you have really brought to the surface for me is if you don't have the leads and the revenue to hire that assistant, the admin assistant, you may never hire anybody. And so by focusing on that outsourcing to fill the funnel, so to speak, is going to bring in revenue that you can then reallocate to the same person or a new person to do the admin. I think that the danger would be to only hire the marketing person and 6 months, 12 months go by, your funnel's so full, but your paperwork is piled up to the ceiling because you haven't built in the infrastructure there. So I still don't know that it's a right or wrong approach, but I really like what you're saying is like lead with revenue is actually one of the few things I remember from Gary Keller's Millionaire Real Estate Agent. He's always like lead with revenue. And so that sounds to me like what you're doing.
Yeah. And I think the other half of that story is I was doing one-on-one coaching with RRI since 2021. So I have my ducks in a row.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like I came in fairly organized, but not the way I'm organized now. So now I'm thinking more systems. Now I'm doing more time blocking. Like I feel like I have more of a handle on all of those administrative pieces within my business, the way I manage them. So I can handle more coming in, if that makes any sense. And now I have somebody to, like if I have a presentation, for example, like I built my own presentations in Canva for listing appointments, whatever. But now I have somebody who's actually better at doing that than I am. So I can actually have her go back and like fix all my content. So yeah, like I agree with you. If you're disorganized and you're already drowning because of being disorganized, hiring somebody to like ramp up your marketing game is probably not going to be great. And maybe you would need an administrator. But in place of hiring an administrator, I think I was doing one-on-one coaching with RRI, which was really helpful. But then I got to a point with my coaching where I was like, and I said to Susan, she's lovely. I'm like, I need to focus on implementing. Like my problem now is not that I know what to do. I'm not doing it because I don't have the time to do it.
Susan's your coach?
It was Susan Froher.
I love Susan.
Yeah, she's amazing. So she was a great fit for me. So I'm actually doing I'm doing team coaching right now while I was kind of like balancing cash flow to figure this whole thing out. And that's not to lead anybody away from like one-on-one coaching. I was doing it for years. And I realized I'm like, I can keep writing things down, but if I don't have time to implement it, then it's no good for me. So I said to her, I'm like, okay, I'm going to pause on one-on-one coaching. I'm going to go and implement everything, and then I'll be back. Right?
Yeah, I'll be right back. I'll be right back.
Yeah. So that's kind of been the quest since October when I hired my doer.
I love that, hired my doer. And that's great branding on their part too.
You're so smart. Oh my God.
Clever. So obviously that's a strong endorsement for that organization. I want to ask you, like, if you put your coach hat on for a second, your coach, Michelle, and you're now in the helping people get unstuck business, which is, really what I'm trying to do is get you to do my work for me, because this is the business I'm in, is getting people unstuck. And and remember, we're talking right now to people that haven't made the hire yet. They've got all of the buts and all of the apprehensions. Like you mentioned a few things like, I don't know what to let go of first, or I don't know how to, like, what's your process? What would you recommend the first couple of steps be for somebody who is like, you know what, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I need to get help, but I don't know where to start. What do you say to them?
Yeah, I feel it. It's a tricky piece, but what I would say is, for me, I'm totally a control freak, right? Like, it's funny. I'm very much in surrender about a lot of things in life. Like, I kind of go with the flow of life. But then when it comes to executing things, I'm a bit of a control freak. So for me to hand over anything like client facing is like, like, no, thank you, right? So the reason I actually started with marketing also, number one, to generate revenue. But the second reason for that was I'm like completely ashamed of how I'm doing that right now anyway, with putting aside like how we staged and presented properties. That was always on point. It looked great, and like advertising and stuff like that. But from a personal marketing perspective, what I'm doing now sucks. So my expectations were very easy to manage. If I brought somebody in and they did something, right, that I was even marginally happy with, I was going to be happy. So that was going to feel like a win. And I knew for me that doing that would be a great way to kind of get things going. So that would be number one. Number two.
Number one, can you put if we were putting this in a training manual, because I'm getting you to do all my, this is me outsourcing and delegating in real time. Okay. What would the header of that number one be? You'd say, is that like get your marketing running for you? Is that,
find what you're not doing well yourself and delegate that.
Okay.
Because it's like an easy win, like if bring someone in and they're doing something and it's better than the thing you were doing, then you're happy, right? So it's like, hiring a bookkeeper, which was one of my many hires in the past. Same thing when I used to hire moms to write blogs, right? Like, I am not a writer. I hate writing. This was like pre-AI. Great. Like, bravo. You know what I mean?
You
Like,
were
bravo. You guys are amazing.
chapter one is get the quick win with something that you would
Yeah.
immediately see the impact on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number
Well,
two,
two.
lean into AI.
Okay.
Because to me, this is like the most brilliant innovation. I don't know whether I would have hired somebody before AI, because I saw AI as like this brilliant friend, partner that would allow me to kind of like split myself in two to really keep working with somebody, like almost like a training partner. Because if you actually do the work, and this, I guess, is my third piece of advice, get very clear on your business, who you're wanting to work with, and what your, value proposition is, what your mission is, so that you can actually share that information with somebody you're hiring. Because it's hard enough to bring somebody into your business to do things for you. But if you can't articulate what it is you do or what you're doing differently or what's important to you in your organization, then I feel like it's very difficult for them to kind of get onto it, and they can't read your mind. Right. So they have the disadvantage for a VA of being like physically distanced, possibly, very culturally, there's some differences too that you gotta have to bridge for them. Right. And then also, if you don't really know what your messaging is, then that's very difficult. So
Couple things I'll throw there. And I want to ask you about AI tools, despite the fact I know they will be dated in 6 months from now. But just to iterate on that, one of the apprehensions I hear about people using ChatGPT is it sounds like ChatGPT. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. That's because it doesn't know you. And so when I think of brand identity, there's two pillars for me. There's brand visuals and there's brand voice. And so one of the things I did last year is I hired a professional copywriter to interview. I think she interviewed 7 to 10 of my customers, agents at my brokerage, coaching clients, etc., friends, whatnot. She looked at previous videos, previous podcasts. We did an interview and all that. And then she put together a brand voice guide. Basically, this is Braden's tone. These are the things, the missions, the values, all of that. And then I hired a computer science student to take that brand voice guide and build a custom GPT with that brand voice and guide. So now anyone who writes words on my behalf, whether it's Katie, my social media manager, whether it's Isabel, my VA, whether it's even Rachel, my copywriter, there's a consistency factor. So now instead of it being like, oh, that doesn't sound like me, we've been able to tighten it all up. That process of the brand voice guide and the computer science, it was like $1,500 all in.
yeah.
And
Right. It's like nothing for what it's bringing to the
members
table.
of my team, like even in my brokerage now, people are like some of my colleagues, like staff are using it because they're like, well, it already has who our ideal client is and what their pain points are and all that built into it. Right. So just setting yourself up for success with some of those things can be absolutely huge. I also want to ask, so but back to the AI tools for a second, like give us your I couldn't live without them right now tools. What would those be?
Really, for me, like, I haven't gone deep in using different tools, but currently it's like ChatGPT and
Yeah.
like Grok. I am using both of them.
Okay.
And just I'm a very creative person, but I am not a good writer.
Yeah.
So for me to be able to go and throw in all of the garble I'm thinking, and I'm a deep thinker, I'm very introspective. And then for them to spit out something that like, damn, yes, this is exactly what I wanted to convey, but didn't have the good writing ability to actually convey well. So, and I did the same thing with the brand identity. So working with somebody, she did help with that as well. And then I massaged my prompt, but then I went in even further with it. And I'm like, how can I make this prompt even more like me? And I worked with Chat GPT and like fed in all sorts of personal narrative and like anecdotes and like all this stuff. And it is so rich now. The content that comes out of it, I am like, holy cow, like this is everything that's in my heart and in my mind that I'm not articulating well enough to share. So I think like ChatGPT is more me than I am me now in a way that it can actually communicate well.
Have you played with the app on your phone and the voice, the conversation part yet?
I have not.
Oh my goodness. This is my new favorite thing. I'm going to do this in real time. Hopefully I'm not logged out of my password. So I'm a significantly better talker than typer. Like I struggle with email and text. And so here's my chat B bot or my coach B bot. And so you hit the little icon on the side and it'll turn into voice mode and then it'll start talking to you. Okay. So now it's in voice activation mode. And I'll say, can you please describe the Coach B brand voice, specifically what the tone matrix looks like?
The Coach B brand voice is designed to be warm, empathetic, and knowledgeable. It strikes the balance between being professional and approachable, creating a supportive and encouraging tone.
That's like mine.
Ensuring the audience feels understood and motivated. It embodies a coaching style that is both inspiring and grounded in practice.
So now I'm just going to end this other, so we're going to keep
We're like
talking.
kindred spirits. This is like practically my brand voice.
So I don't know how I'm going to infiltrate one of your mom groups. I'm going to find a way, but nonetheless, so I will have conversations with that voice bot back and forth. And I'll say, hey, I'm thinking about this thing. I just had this conversation with this person, and I think it would be great for some breakthrough content and and we'll talk back. And I'm like, okay, so while I was thinking about this, and we'll just talk back and forth for 10, 15 minutes sometimes. And then what's cool about it is when you end the conversation, you can go into ChatGPT and it'll actually have the full transcription of you and the bot talking. But for me, sitting there and typing is
it's all gone, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So if you're an agent at any point in your career and you're like resisting AI, I would say to you, like, reconsider. Because for me, I guess with technology, and I like simple things and I like a simple life, but I have felt like technology is a key to my freedom. So having a cell phone got me out of the office. Having like a laptop meant I didn't have to sit in my office. Like anything that gives me freedom just makes me happier. And I feel like chat is one of those things. And it's letting me create things that I really want to create, but just I don't have a copywriter. And I don't even know if having a copywriter would have helped me that much with some of the things that I'm doing now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's fascinating stuff. Okay. So we like to end every interview by asking our guests one question, because the whole breakthrough method is the objective, the measurable deliverable for this program is to help people get 10 hours a week back in 90 days. I'm curious to know your answer to the question. What would you do with an extra 10 hours a week?
Well, here's the thing. I already have those extra 10 hours a week because I wasn't doing all the things I was supposed to be doing before. I would probably just go on a hike. I'd just be hanging out with my kids. Like, I just want to be at home cooking and doing fun things and gardening and just sitting in the sun. That's kind of my happy day. So, yeah. And honestly, like, I don't know. I think people should really embrace their personal sovereignty and not worry so much about what other people are doing because, I don't know. I just wish everybody freedom, really. So what I would want is for everybody to be free and happy. And that's not the question you're asking, but that's kind of like my life message. Go, like, live your life, run your own race, like, be happy on your own terms, define your own success. And
you're amazing. I wish I knew you 16 or 19 years ago.
Oh,
I've enjoyed this conversation so much, Michelle. Anything else you need to get off your head or your heart before we say goodbye for today?
No, I don't think so. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Actually, podcasting is on my goals list for the year ahead. So I will look forward to picking your brain if you'll indulge me on that, the practicality of how to do it all. But no, just thank you for creating such a lovely space. And I think what you're doing is brilliant and your message is amazing. And I think you're helping a lot of people. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thanks for tuning in to Breakthrough with Coach B. If you're ready to let go in order to grow, visit BradenWheatcroft.com for free and paid resources to help you take the next step. Your future self will thank you. Until next time, here's to your breakthrough.